Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast today. And my name is Lynn. I want to be the host with you today through a very special conversation with our very special guest, Mr. Guy-Roger Duvert, French composer, scriptwriter, and director. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So, to start off, so maybe could you introduce a bit about yourself so our audience get to know you more?
Sure. So I'm French. I was born in Paris, but now I live in Los Angeles. Been living there for 12 years, more or less. And so I have several jobs in a way. So I started in the industry as a music composer, which I still do. So I composed for films, adverts, video games, a lot of stuff like this, and soundtracks basically. And after a while, I started writing scripts and directing, and eventually that led me to release my first feature film, which was called Virtual Revolution, which is a sci-fi feature film, so that I wrote and directed, and of course composed the music for. And eventually there was a third activity that was added to that, is that I started writing novels in French.
Wow.
And they're doing pretty well, so that's something that I keep on doing right now. So I have these three jobs at the same time.
And we hope that we're going to see your novel out in public soon, right?
Yeah, I mean, they are already in French, but I've released around 12 novels already.
Okay.
But for now, they're only in French. So one of the challenges will be to release them in English too, which is
hopefully
something I want to do. It's not
looking forward to it.
Me too, definitely.
Yeah. And so is this your first time in Vietnam?
No, actually, I came here a long time ago. I came here 25 years ago.
Wow.
So at the time, I was just a student, so I was backpacking.
Okay.
And so I spent a small month in Vietnam, visiting a little bit of the country.
Okay. And did you visit the whole Vietnam from the south to the north, or?
Oh yeah, I did everything. Not everything. I didn't visit much of the mountains, but I did all the Mekong Delta. I went up north. I went to Dalat, and after Nha Trang, Hoi An, Hue, Hanoi, and Along Bay. So it was not all of Vietnam, but it was a good part of it, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah, and after 25 years, though, do you find, any difference between Vietnam back in the day and now?
It's totally different. I actually don't recognize the city. It has changed a lot. So at that time, there was no skyscrapers.
Okay.
So the highest buildings maybe were 2, 3, 4 floors maximum. So yeah, big difference.
Okay. And what about the people? Was it different back in the day and now, or what's your impression?
I didn't feel a big difference. I mean, there is something very nice about Vietnam and about the people, is that, and for me that's kind of a mystery, is that everyone seems to be zen all the time, relaxed, and when I see the traffic in Ho Chi Minh, I don't understand. I mean, you put the same traffic in Paris, people kill each other. So, and here everyone is, respectful, just relax, waiting to, and it works.
Chill.
Oh yeah, so that's, I'm very impressed by that. And it was already this feeling at that time, but the traffic was much lighter at that time.
Yeah, so earlier you talked about being a composer, so let's talk about that first. So we're interested to know that how did you find your passion into composing music?
Actually, very early. So I started composing when I was very young. I don't know when exactly, maybe 8, 9 or 10, something like this. I was composing on piano. Very simple stuff, but still it was the beginning. I started learning to use musical softwares when I was 15. And but at that time, I didn't realize it could actually be a job. So I was doing it, as a hobby, as a passion. But I didn't think that I could actually live from it one day. And so I followed studies that had nothing to do with that. I studied political sciences, and after I went to a business school studying finance mostly. And I started working in Morocco.
Okay.
And when I was working, I started, having a reflection I should have had before. So, okay, what do I want to do with my life? And that's when I realized, okay, I don't want to be working every day, with a suit on this kind of job. I want to make music for movies and video games and stuff like that. And so that's when I decided that I would do that. And 2 years later, I dropped everything and started working as a music composer.
Wow, a big plot twist of your life if you was put in the movie.
That's, I'm not the only one with that kind of a swift switch on career, exactly. But I never regretted it. Never.
Great. And did your family have any, they voice out about your change of direction? Or
no, they were actually cool because they didn't necessarily understand it fully, but they still supported me. So my mother considered that I had to try. And if it didn't work, after 1 year, I could still take a job in a bank. That was basically her philosophy. And my father didn't really understand my choice, thinking, well, we paid for your studies, now you should do a job that actually brings money. But still, they let me do that. And even after 1 year, it was not successful yet. And they didn't pressure me or anything. They just let me do my thing.
They support you.
And it took me, I'd say, 5 years before actually living from my music. So they, psychologically speaking, they supported me. They never tried to prevent me from doing that. So that was really cool.
Right, that's very cool actually.
Yeah.
So throughout your long career with composing music, you actually won a lot of awards with music composing for movie. And so because all of your composing your music are your children. So we know that everything is gonna be very precious to you. But among all of them, which one is the most memorable for you? Which one is the most meaningful for you?
I think that, it was not an award I got from that movie, but it was a movie who got an award. Actually, a nomination is that the first feature film that I scored, called Les Yeux Secs, it was nominated at the Cannes Festival at the Director's Fortnight. And so that was something pretty big. So that was my first time at the Cannes Festival. Since then, I've been going there almost every year. And it was something rather, impressive to see other people waiting in line to watch the film, or the reaction of the public, of the audience, the Q&A and everything. That was an intense time. So I would pick up that one, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so I think we must actually look up to see the movie Lizard Sex, and also
very hard to see because it was very, kind of an author kind of movie. It's a movie in Arabic.
Oh, I see.
Never been translated.
Okay.
So it's going to be tough to
for the music, maybe.
Yeah, for the music.
Yeah. All right. And talking about music, composing music career, then you also have a role as a director.
Yeah.
So how did it happen? How did you switch from composing music to directing movie?
I guess that as a composer, I was working for many people on other people's projects, on other people's visions. And after a while, so I wanted to tell my own stories. And because I was seeing the industry from inside, I could actually, after a while, I thought, okay, I think I can do it myself too. So let's try it. So I did first a short movie, which was at the same time rather beautiful, but totally failed. So I made many mistakes on it. There were the writing was not good. The dialogues were badly written. I had written them. The cast was some were good, some were not good. So problem of casting. So my responsibility also. The directing was not great. I didn't direct all the actors the best way possible. So I made many mistakes in it. That's why this movie, it's not possible to watch it. It's not on internet. It's nowhere.
Okay.
But still, because it was beautiful, it still opened some doors for me. And thanks to that, I could direct several corporate movies. Because, you know, in corporate movies, there's no real stories. It needs to be like beautiful, impactful, effective, but that's it. So that allowed me to, you know, keep on training a little bit with the camera, understanding more about the frames, everything. And eventually I directed a second short movie called Cassandra, which I think that even now it's still the most awarded medieval fantasy short movie ever in the world. So it was a huge success in festival. And this time I had learned from the mistakes I had made before. And after that, I thought, okay, now I feel I am ready. Now I can make my feature film. And 2 years later, I was making my first feature film, Virtual Revolution. That's how it happened.
Wow. Very long journey to change from one to the other, even though you was involved in movie before with composing music.
Yeah.
But still. So among all the difficulty that you have on the journey, switching from composing to directing, which is the most challenging?
I don't know if it's a total switch, because I still compose. So it's more like something new like that adds to it. Yeah. There were many challenges. So I don't know which one to. I guess that what was hard at first is that when I arrived to meet, you know, with people, possible investors, producers, everyone was telling me that making that movie for the budget I had planned, it was not possible. And even the institutions. So we were in touch with the French picture commission, and they actually refused some subventions that legally we were allowed to have, because according to them it was not possible to make that movie for that budget. But we did. So yeah, it was a little bit, you know, there is this, so I guess it's kind of a Western image, but I don't know if you know about Don Quixote. That's a famous European character. I think it's Spanish. It's some kind of knight.
I know him. Yeah, the knight that fighting with the mules. Right?
Exactly. So it felt a little bit like this. So it was a little bit tough, but at the end of the day, we did it. So it was very, very satisfying and exciting to do it. So.
Wow, that was a beautiful metaphor to put yourself as Don Quixote, fighting with the windmills to win it, something like that. Yeah. Wow. So how long did it take you to you know, finally land the first complete the first movie?
Feature film.
How long did it take the whole journey?
Depends. So the idea of the script actually came very early. In 2005, I still remember it. I was on the subway in Paris, and I was reading an article about MMORPG. You know, the MMORPGs.
The game, right?
Yeah, exactly. The multiplayer, massively multiplayer online RPGs. And it was about one of these games called EverQuest 2, which is an old game. And it was saying that 25% of the players of EverQuest 2 were paying more attention, giving more importance to their life in-game than their real life. And that kind of, you know, struck me. That's kind of a big number. And I thought, but come on, it's still, you know, it's a game, it's pixelized, it's on a 2D screen. We already know where we're going to what. I mean, we know we're going to get technology close from the Matrix, where there will be no differences of sensation between reality and the virtual. When that happens, that won't be 25%. It will be much more. And so that's how I created the premises of the movie, where I describe a society where 75% of the population spend all their time online, connected to some virtual world, not caring about reality anymore. And that's how the idea of the movie came. So it came very early. But I wrote the script in 2014, and I shot it in 2015. So there was 1 year only between the moment the script was written and the moment we started shooting.
Oh, wow.
And after it was 6 weeks shooting.
Okay.
And 5 months post-production, 5-6 months post-production.
Okay. So actually the hardest part is to get the idea and then put it into action, and then after you have it, then...
No, that's not the hardest part. The hardest part is getting the money.
Okay. The budget to run it. Okay.
Oh, yeah, always.
Always, yeah. And so along the way, like when you, on the journey to trying to, from having the idea, writing the script, asking for money, then do you have to learn something new or have to improve some skills, something specific that you need to be able to directing a film like that?
I don't know. I mean, by definition, I learned a lot by doing so. And the funny thing is that I understood how much of a challenge it was by doing it. So I guess, there is this sentence that I like. I don't know how it's said exactly in English, but they didn't know that it was impossible, so they did it. So, and that's a little bit like this. I mean, I didn't know how insane it was to make a movie, which is probably why I did it a little bit in unconscious way, but that worked. So something I paid attention, and I think that's what saved me, is that I picked up a very good team. And in order to manage, I think it's true in every field, but if you want to do something, good, well, you need to be well surrounded. And I got a great team, and that's how we managed to make the film. But yeah, it was it was much more work than I even imagined, and I was already imagining it would be hard. So. And
when you started thinking about it, it's already done, right?
Yeah, exactly. At the end, okay, we did it. So.
Right.
But it was tough. That's so exciting.
Such a story. And did your experience and your skills as a composer for movie music, did it help with your process of working a movie as a director?
I guess we could say that if you're a musician, you have an idea. A notion of rhythm. That being said, I'm very proud of Virtual Revolution. I think that's a movie that works on many levels, but it's not the best movie ever in terms of rhythm. So that's where I guess I still have a need to learn. And my second feature film, I want to focus even more on the idea of rhythm. So I don't know. I guess that my past as a composer helped me because I knew the business from the inside, which is always an important knowledge, and I could learn from all the directors I worked with. But beside that, I don't think that. The work as a composer is very close from the one as a director. It's very different. So.
Right, and you mentioned that your first movie was a sci-fi sci-fi genre. So did you have any special reason why you choose sci-fi at your first movie, or?
I'm a complete nerd, so I love sci-fi, fantasy, stuff like that, and most of what I write, it's sci-fi, fantasy. I guess that always goes into one of these categories. So at first I thought, I wanted to do another movie, but I realized, because I knew that I would have a limited budget, and so I needed to be clever about that. So how could I make something that's visually impressive while spending as low as possible? And actually, when I was thinking about this concept that I had about Virtual Revolution, I had so many ideas about doing it in a very efficient way for very few amount of money. So I thought, okay, let's start by this one, because this one is going to cost me less than the other projects I had in mind. So that's why I picked up that one, because that's the one I could do for least money with the best visual result.
Okay. I think the skill and the experience as a financier also help in that process.
Yeah, probably. I never. It might be weird because it's true that my studies have nothing to do with what I do now, but I still think that what I learned is still useful, and So yeah, when I speak with producers, the good thing is that I understand numbers, and I can actually get very detailed about expenses and stuff like this, and that helps be much more precise. So if we have to make choices, okay, should we use that, I don't know, a rain machine, for instance, or do we want to use that equipment or the others? I have a very precise idea of how much it's going to cost, so that allows me to make the best choices possible. So yeah, I don't regret that financial part of my life. That's still useful today. Yeah.
Right. And your movie back in the day, it was something that involved a lot of CGI and also VFX and a lot of technologies putting into the movie.
Yep.
Beside traditional movie without any special effect. So with the nowadays after 7 years, we have a lot of advanced technologies in that kind of field as well.
Yeah.
So do you think that's gonna change the way we making movie nowadays?
Yeah, in a way, it's becoming easier and easier to get very good VFX in movies. So we're going to do it more and more, I guess. And yeah, we can get better results for less money than before, because now there's a lot of. I mean, it's crazy when you see tools such as Unreal. For stuff like this that now everyone can have access to. It definitely changes the situation. So I think that's good news, because that means that we're going to have better and better CGI on the movies. So, and when I see the next movies I'm working on right now, all of them are packed with CGI.
Right, that's a great news.
Yeah. So that's exciting. I love working with CGI. So it's cool.
Right, great news also for the students who are studying to become, working in the field in CGI or VFX.
Oh yeah,
right.
That's definitely. I mean, that's the need in CGI is not going to stop. It's going to increase. Right. So yeah, working in that field is a good bet, I'd say.
Right, and so now you are here this time in this week as an instructor. Rubica as well. That's something on the side, right? So what's that? What did it happen? How did it happen that you become an instructor with Rubica?
So I actually they contacted me at first because of one of my novel called Outsphere, which is I would say my biggest success in novels, and so they wanted to plan a full week where the students would create a Bible for an animation series based on Outsphere, which would be an adaptation of Outsphere. The feeling was very good with the students and with the administration, and eventually they proposed me to intervene for them new times and more oriented on the storytelling. Topic, which is something where I work a lot, either as a scriptwriter, either as a novelist.
Okay.
So that's how it started.
Oh, I see. So because you are here this time is also as an instructor for our masterclass here for the topic of storytelling, to be specific.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? How important is it for the student who learning to be 3D animation maker to learn how to use storytelling perfectly?
Right now, Vietnam is getting, now has a very good reputation when it comes to CGI, post-production, VFX and animation. But there's not really some Vietnam-based video games that are going to be known worldwide. I mean, games like, I don't know, Assassin's Creed, The Witcher, Death Stranding, stuff like this. Mm-hmm. So Japan has some, you have some in Europe, you have some in the States. For now, there's no original Vietnam-based video games. And that's too bad. And in order to have that, well, the makers of tomorrow need to know storytelling, because the common point between all the video games that I quoted each time there is an original plot or an original world building, so basically an original narrative. Mm-hmm. If you make a very good game, but with a generic setting, generic plot, people might enjoy playing it, but they won't remember it that much. Mm. And it's interesting to see that even games who started without strong narrative became bigger. I mean, I have an example in mind is League of Legends. Mm-hmm. At first, it was just a fantasy-based MOBA, and the philosophy of the company is let's do it the best way possible. But very quickly, they realized that if they wanted to go to the next step, then they needed to add some narrative. And that's what they did. And now it's a very rich universe. And look at what they did with the animation Arcane, which is based on the League of Legends world. Mm-hmm. And it's great writing, amazing writing, and very strong world building.
Right, and you actually wearing a lot of hats on your own. You have many roles for yourself, being a composer, being a scriptwriter, being director, also lecturer with Rubika. Yeah. So amongst all those roles, which one for you is the most rewarding for you?
I would say that historically speaking, I started with music, and so I can't imagine stopping music. So it's totally a part of me, and I don't want to stop, and I don't think I will ever stop. So I'm very strongly attached to that activity. Now I would say that the most ambitious activity I've had is probably director. Writing novels has a very, very strong advantage, is that I depend on no one. I don't need a green light. I don't need an investor saying yes or no. I don't have anyone telling me how to tell my story or whatever. I'm totally free. I do what I want. And that freedom, that artistic freedom, is a real pleasure. So I would say, it's both are very satisfying, but in a very different way. So, and for me, it's something I really enjoy, but I don't see it as the main activity. I like, keeping in touch with the student life, because I feel that they're the future. I mean, that sounds a little bit corny to say it like this, but that's kind of true.
That's true, yeah.
And so, I always try to keep a little bit in touch with the student life. I always stayed in touch with my old business school, for instance. So that's something I try to keep. And I like the idea of passing knowledge from generation to generation. So that's something I really enjoy. But for me, that's kind of an activity on the side. So that's something I really enjoy. But that I wouldn't want to... I wouldn't want it to be my main activity. I want my main activities to stay creating, and on the side, spending a little bit of time passing the knowledge.
Right. And speaking about the rewarding already, I think I kind of guessed what you're going to answer on the next question, but I'm going to ask anyway.
Suspense.
So among all those roles, which one is the most challenging for you?
There's going to be director.
Right.
Because that's a lot of work. I mean, when we were shooting Virtual Revolution, sometimes we would be 80 of us, so that means you need to manage 80 persons. Wow. We had 6 trucks going with us every day, with everywhere we would be shooting, so that the logistics are very heavy. So of course the director doesn't do everything. They are like the producers and everything, doing a lot of the job. But still, you need to be in the middle of it. You need to keep your mind on every department, everything. So it's extremely satisfying, very fun, but it is challenging.
Your story is very fascinating, because it's actually a journey about not only one thing, but then you going from one thing and then you try a new thing and explore a new thing. Basically, you are an explorer.
Oh, yeah, and I don't stop actually. So as I said, my main activities are this one, but if we dig, I actually do a few other things. I actually create board games. So I have my first board games, which is going to be released next summer, published by the third biggest world publisher. So that's pretty exciting. And there's nothing official yet or anything, but I might end up working in the video games industry, and not just as composer. I've already composed music for video games. Actually, there's a video game that's going to be released in 1 or 2 months that I scored. But I might actually be involved in the storytelling, the writing, and maybe other parts of video games. So yeah, I'm adding all the time new activities, and I love that. We only live once, so better to use that time efficiently and do as much things as possible.
Oh, wow. And could you give it a little bit a teaser of your board game? Is it possible?
Sure. Actually, the board game is based on my feature film. So it's called Virtual Revolution also. Oh, wow. And it's called, it's supposed to be an expert board game. So it's, I would say, pretty heavy game. It's 2 hours long. And it's pretty intense in terms of strategy. It's not a casual game at all.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
So only for adult, I guess. The expert game.
Yeah, but teenagers, it works too. But teenagers who like expert games. So I would say, I don't know, starting, maybe starting 12, it could work. But teenagers who know how to play expert games, that's not going to be all of them. So. And
do you have any advice because not changing career path, you actually change one, changing your career path and trying new thing, that is just such a long and difficult and heavy work to do, and mentally and physically for everyone. So, but we know that a lot of young people want to do that. Do you have any advice for them?
Well, I would say 2 advices. The first one is just get the knowledge that you're going to need. Okay. So at first, as a composer, I needed some, software knowledge. So I took a formation in order to learn what I didn't know. I needed to learn how to mix. I didn't know how to do that. I learned it. When I started shooting, I didn't know anything technical speaking about shooting, so I bought a book and I just read, okay, so this frame is called like this, okay, this frame, and that's like this. I could communicate with my team. So when you need to know something, just learn it. Now knowledge is everywhere, and there are great places for that, such as a VTC Academy. So yeah, the first thing is, if you want to go far, you need the knowledge for that. The second one is believe in yourself. So when I did, at first when I tried to become a music composer, many people told me that it was a mistake, that I will never manage to make a living out of it, and that I should go back to a real job. And I didn't listen to them because I knew what I wanted to do. And after, when I wanted to do Virtual Revolution, so the feature film, there were many people telling me it's not possible to make that movie for that budget. You're going to fail. You shouldn't. I still did it, and it worked. When for the novel, I actually sent my first novel to most publishers in France. All of them said no. They were not interested. I still released it, and it was a success. It won awards, and eventually it became a bestseller. So each time, people were not waiting for me. They were not expecting me. So if you wait for people to to believe in you and to come to you, that could last. There is an expression that I like is, I was waiting for the train to move, and I realized I was the locomotive. So it's going to depend on you. It's not going to depend on the others. So that's why you need to believe in yourself and to give yourself the resources you need.
Right. That's very important. Two important pieces of advice for everyone.
I hope so.
Yeah. Wow. And you spend a week working with our student here, and our student here, they are like spending their time in the studio collecting sweat and tears, trying to be a 3D animation maker in the field. And of course, the field is not easy at all for them in the film industry. Could you say some, word of encouragement, not advice, but I'd rather say encouragement for them to keep following their passion through this career?
Well, I would say they are in a good place for that because, so they are at the VTC Academy, and that's actually, an advice I could give is that in these businesses, a career is not going to depend only on your skills. A little bit, but not that much. It's going to depend on who you know, your network. And the good thing about being at VTC Academy is that there are opportunities to meet people from the business. So people who are going to be from the different Vietnamese VFX companies, animation companies, and so on. And so the best way to work in these areas after is to get in touch with these people. So that would be my advice, is to use the network they're actually gaining thanks to VTC Academy.
Wow. So actually I believe that our students today, when they watch our conversation, they're not only getting information, not only informative, but also very encouraging and also inspirational, I hope.
Hopefully.
So thank you again for being here today and having this very meaningful, enriching conversation with us.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being here, and it was great being here for a week. That masterclass was a blast. So really happy to have been able to do it.
Yeah, well, we hope to welcome you here again in VTC Academy and also in Vietnam if you ever come by. My pleasure. Right. So thank you very much. And you want to say something else in the end for our audience?
Well, thank you again for your welcoming. I mean, it was again a real pleasure. All this stay here was a blast. I really enjoyed it, and it was great having all these interactions with the students. And I hope that what I brought is going to be useful to them. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing in the future video games, like original video games made in Vietnam and becoming famous worldwide. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Looking forward to see you again here as well. All right. So thank you very much. I hope you all audience enjoys our conversation today, and we hope to see you soon in the next upcoming. Thank you.
Thank you.